What's up, nerds? How y'all doing?
We can sit down in the studio and record.
All right,
here's an appointment.
Well, I'm older, so I'm older and diabetic, so I got my appointment.
All right, here's a question for Matt. I'll let you.
Cringe is right, dude. What are they even talking about? Like, let's go get. I can't have diabetes. Dude, Wilford Brimley boomer
take
level
some time
stuff,
to respond,
dude.
and then Trent, you can respond to him, and then I'll let the two of you feel free to have a conversation.
How does Matt have an audience? I literally don't like. There just means a giant horde of like just the most low IQ internet people. Like, how does this guy still have followers after like dozens of self-owns that are meme material that should be viral? I mean, I just don't get it.
Matt, can testimonial evidence alone make a belief reasonable?
On its own, no. But the testimonial evidence is always viewed within the pool of things we already understand. If you say, I got a new puppy last night, that is reasonable for me to accept because I know that puppies exist and people get them for pets, and there's nothing extraordinary. Everything about your claim is consistent with what I already know and understand to be true about reality.
Okay, so Matt, like, dude, do you understand how many times you've contradicted yourself? Because you just asked if testimonial evidence was enough to believe in a claim of Trent about 5 minutes ago. And when Trent said yes, you laughed. So Matt Fradd just asked you basically the same type of question, and you said yes, because if somebody says they got a puppy, it's reasonable to believe that. So you do believe that it's reasonable to believe in testimonial evidence alone. But you laughed at Trent for saying that it's reasonable to believe in testimonial evidence alone. Dude, Matt, you're a joke.
Via experience and evidence. So it's not, you could view that as, your testimony alone is enough. But that's a colloquial thing. That is us saying, I will take you at your word. But the truth is, when I say that, I'm saying, I will take you at your word, considering all the mountains of evidence I have about how the universe already works.
Yeah, but that's begging the question, because the debate is about resurrections and whether they're reasonable. And you're basically saying that I will only accept resurrections if they're reasonable. And then when you say what's reasonable is testimonial evidence, and you say testimonial evidence plus physical evidence, but there's no physical evidence of things in the past, so it is reasonable for testimonial evidence only in my criteria of what counts as evidence, which is physical evidence. But Matt, you just admitted that the very thing that you called out Trent for is something that you can accept for you when it fits your presuppositions of what's rational and reasonable. So it's a circle here, right? So Matt believes that resurrections can only be known or proven through the very things that undercut the possibility of anything from history being true. Matt doesn't understand that his criteria are undercutting the possibility of Matt knowing anything about history.
Trent.
Okay. Yeah, what I would say is that in the vast majority of cases, testimony is sufficient.
Matt's got a giant Pizza Hut glass. Like he's got a Pizza Hut glass that did he take that from Pizza Hut? Like full of like Mountain Dew, or like what is I bet Matt is a Dr. Pepper kind of guy, right? I mean, he's got a giant Pizza Hut glass full of Dr. Pepper.
But in some cases, we might need a little bit more. So I think, for example, look at the resurrection. I think we have very good testimony. So we have testimony going back to St. Paul, who was an eyewitness of the original disciples. So we have good evidence to believe, and even atheistic scholars, as I cited, like Paula Fredrickson and Richard Carrier, on this, would say that the original disciples claimed Jesus rose from the dead, and this was motivated by a genuine experience that they sincerely thought this had happened. So yeah, I agree. Like a testimonial is something, one person's testimony for the mundane. For something that's extra mundane, I might need more testimony. If it's a group of people and they're willing to suffer costly punishment for affirming.
Yeah, this is where all of this evidentialist resurrection stuff is terrible. Like, it just falls apart. Like, I mean, it's a non sequitur from the fact that the apostles went from being scared to being willing to die, that the system of Christianity is true, right? Because that's only a good argument if Christianity is true, but that's what's in question. I mean, aren't there countless people who die for false religions? So the fact that a person is willing to die for the position has nothing to do with its truth or falsity ultimately. So this is just piss poor, just terrible classical evidentialist arguments that always fail and will never convince the atheists because they're not challenging its presuppositions.
This belief, then that starts to raise the likelihood the belief is true. Most things we believe about, nearly everything we believe about in the world, for example, is based on testimony.
This is a great point, right? I mean, Matt believes all kinds of things merely on the basis of testimony. And I even had one of my friends a long time ago, he called into Matt's show back when he did the local Austin show and asked Matt on what basis he believes in all of the scientific research that he claims to believe in. In other words, Matt, did you go verify the papers independently and all the scientists that write those papers? Well, of course, Matt, no, I haven't done that. Oh, so you believe on testimony of what's reported about science papers and scientific peer-reviewed research studies that those are true, but you haven't investigated any of those studies empirically on your own. And Matt was like, no. And then he hung up on the guy because Matt doesn't want to go in the areas where he's trapped.
In my opening statement, if you went on Matt's conclusion, I mean, he even said it was not reasonable to believe Jesus was crucified. You're going to abandon ancient history and scholarship.
Yes, this is a great point. That was what I was just saying. Everything Matt's saying, Matt doesn't even realize is going to undercut all of historical research.
It's not reasonable.
So now all historical claims are unreasonable on Matt's system.
I'll let I said I wasn't convinced it was reasonable. I didn't say it was not reasonable.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, Matt, that you're not convinced because that's a reporting of psychological states, and that's irrelevant to a debate and not an argument.
All right. We have 18 minutes.
Trent should have pressed him again on that because Matt just, again, made a serious no-no.
You guys have a conversation, and then we'll have 30 minutes of Q&A after that. So if you're in the live stream right now, just
if this
save your
doesn't go
questions
anywhere,
until
if Trent doesn't drill down and just kind of just end the whole Matt thing, then we're going to move on to the super chats.
All right, guys, go.
Well, how do we do this without? I enjoy talking with you, Matt. You're fun.
I do too, and that's gosh, I wish people could understand that more. That just because you know there might be a minute of roar doesn't mean that we're So you talked about
all Matt cares about is how he's perceived by the audience, who were all just kind of mocking him and making fun of him. So he's like, it's funny that he's all butthurt and bothered by this, and he's trying to like dial it back and dial it down because he realizes he looks ridiculous.
Having more testimony, and I'm on record as saying the plural of anecdote isn't data. So it doesn't matter how many testimonials you have; that alone is not going to be enough, and unless you view that in the broader stream of things. And the way I've
wait a minute, Matt. So now it doesn't matter how many people attest to something? You said at the very beginning of your whole thing that it's reasonable to believe whatever most people believe. I mean, how do people follow this guy? Like, this is like, what?
This is that, like, my mom. Okay,
this dude is like a walking like meme, like just spits out like from minute to minute. It's just like another contradiction.
I don't like doing this, but my mom is a fundamentalist Southern Baptist Christian who believes.
Oh, well, if we're going to get in the domain of like psychological motivations, which, you know, Matt seems to like to play psychoanalyst and figure out the motivations existentially, why people believe things. Maybe now we're beginning to see that Matt's still an edgy 17-year-old rebelling against his mom.
Has seen demons.
Okay.
Now, I'm happy to believe that my mom thinks that she has seen something, but that doesn't mean that I'm justified in accepting that she's correct about what she's seen. Same with people who are abducted by aliens. or claim. I'm sorry, people who claim they're abducted by aliens.
Well, so it sounds like your epistemology, because if you notice my opening,
Here we go. Finally, yes, Trent, go into his epistemology, which is garbage. It's nonsense. Oops. I hit the pause button.
statement, I didn't use like natural.
Quick question. Would you sit through a free 12-minute video if I promised to share how I've helped hundreds of high-achieving
Hold
men
on, let me get
transform their mediocre lives as a result of...
So the screen is frozen, so hold on a second.
Think that the belief is reasonable. For example, Matt is not convinced of Alex O'Connor's ethical veganism, but I doubt Matt would say Alex is unreasonable for being an ethical vegan. Likewise, Matt's personal doubts about the resurrection are irrelevant to whether belief in the resurrection is reasonable.
Right.
Instead, Matt has to defend an objective standard for what makes beliefs reasonable or unreasonable. So let me offer 3 tests to see.
All right, that
think that the
restarted,
belief is
so hold on.
reasonable. For example, Matt is not convinced of Alex O'Connor's ethical veganism, but I doubt Matt would say
Divinity raises the humanity in Christ through theosis, and that's exactly what we experience.